work. So, Ruchika, welcome, and I think you can start the session.
Yes,
Uh, we can all ask questions after she finishes her session.
thank you so much, ma'am.
Right, Ruchika? Over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Very good morning, all of you. Are the slides visible to you?
Yeah, they are visible.
Okay, thank you. So, a very good morning to respected madam and all the faculty members of AUD. So, today the title of my talk is Opportunity and Resources for Teaching and Learning. And as ma'am has already introduced me, so I'll just begin with my session. So, my talk is divided into the following parts. I'll briefly give you guidelines for conducting online classes. What are the various platforms that are available for conducting these classes? And then I'll give you a demonstration of Google Classroom that will cover various levels from beginning from creation of a class at Google Classroom and moving on to how to create assignment, how to post quiz, and how to schedule meets and how to grade students in the classroom. So that I will cover as a part of the demonstration, and then I'll just give you a brief about how to handle the security and privacy threats that can arise during when you take online classes. And finally, I will give you various options that we have explored at Delhi Technological University for conducting online exam in this situation. So this is a brief organization of my talk. And now beginning with the online teaching and learning, as all of us are aware, we are in a lockdown period. So it's an emergency situation of COVID-19, and majority of the world has moved on to online classes. So we are, I will not say forced. So we have already moved to online classes. I'll just share a recent survey of United States with you. So American Association of United States has recently conducted a survey, where, as you can see, most of the universities, 81% of the universities have moved entirely online for the whole semester. So they have already declared that they have moved online for the whole semester. Few of them have moved online until further notice, that is 9%. Few of them have moved online until a specific date, and the number is 5%. And only a few of them have moved online, but they are taking lab classes from remote, from one to one, you can say, lab classes. So that percent is only one. So in United States, each and every university has moved online. Similarly, you can see another survey that was conducted by American Association. It shows that around 78% of degrees, that is the final year semester, final year students' degrees, have been anticipated to be given on time to the students. So here comes the role of online examination. If we anticipate that we are going to give degrees to final year students on time, so we need to explore options of for online exam. So now coming on to what is online teaching and learning. Online teaching, basically learning can be defined as a learning experience in synchronous as well as asynchronous environment. That means when we do one-to-one communication with the student, that is synchronous environment, and when we do offline communications with the student, that is asynchronous environment. Using various devices that may vary from our mobile phones, laptops, iPads, and so on, and with internet access, that is the thing. And in these environments, student can be in any location, any geographical location, and he she can interact, learn, collaborate with with their fellow students, and obviously the instructors, the faculty members, and the teachers. So that is what is the known as online learning. Now, I'll just briefly give you guidelines for conducting online class, and then I'll move on to a demo of Google Classroom. So, and the first and foremost guideline when we say that we are planning for conducting an online class, we need to define our learning objectives. When I say learning objective, that means whether I am conducting a seminar for some students, whether I am conducting a workshop for for students, whether I am taking an online course whether I am delivering some kind of, you can say, participating in some kind of a debate or an exchange or a discussion, whether I am demonstrating then some laboratory setting, some laboratory feature, or whether I am demonstrating a technique or technology. So based on all these objectives, so first we need to, as a faculty, we need to determine our objective before we begin the online class. And based on that objective, we need to select an appropriate tool. So after selecting that appropriate tool, the second guideline is that we need to train the students. We need to give them brief training sessions of how to use online tools, how to go about it, and also we need to know who are the students that are not, that don't have internet access, or may have remote access, or may have low bandwidths, or may have some hearing issues, or any kind of issue. So that we need to know all this before we begin the class. So that is the second guideline, that we need to provide support to the students for using the tools and platforms. Third guideline is that we need to identify, we need to promote inclusivity. So each and every student in our class should be involved, should be included in our classes. So we should consider reworking our course to take up even less bandwidth. So if even a student has less bandwidth, we should be able to include that student so that he is able to connect with it. So here you see I have created a diagram which was created by Daniel Stanford, and you can see it is divided into 4 quadrants: low bandwidth and high, low bandwidth, high bandwidth, low immediacy, and high immediacy. So with bandwidth, I mean, obviously it's when I do online video conferencing, I do require good bandwidth, fast and reliable internet. And second factor which I have considered is immediacy. So the second factor, immediacy, refers to how quickly I expect, or we expect, our students to respond when interacting with us. So here you see it is divided into 4 quadrants. So when the immediacy is high and the bandwidth is high, you can see that is the red part. So we can go online with video conferencing, with audio conferencing options. When the bandwidth is high but our immediacy is low, that means we don't need to interact with our students in real time environment. That means one-to-one interaction. We don't expect them to respond immediately, so we can record our videos. We can maybe have asynchronous discussions with audios, videos. So pre-recorded audios and videos can be used in that case. But when the bandwidth is low and the immediacy is high, then we can do group chats with them using WhatsApp, Skype, and other tools and technologies that are available. We can share collaborative material, documents with them. And when both the bandwidth is low and immediacy is also low, we can just send them emails, assignments, some reading materials, and so on, or maybe discussion, discussion we can do, or post some exams. We can send them quizzes, assignments, and so on. So it depends upon what is our requirement. Whether immediacy is high, bandwidth is high, whether immediacy is low, bandwidth is low, both are low, or the other way around. Now, the next guideline before we begin an online class is that we should first impart the rules of interaction very clearly to the students. Like today, madam clearly told us that please ask question at the end of the session. So she clearly defined one of the guidelines of the class, and other 2 guidelines are already being followed by all of you, that you have put on your, put off your mics and your camera. So you need to specify the students that whether you will be recording the session. As today, Director IT just messaged me that if I have an issue, if it is recorded. So I said no, so he went ahead with it. So, and you need to define the duration of the lecture. Then important thing is, how will you take attendance? You need to provide a guideline, how will you take attendance before you begin the class. And muting of mics and videos, as I have told you. And raising of questions, so when they can and how they can raise questions during the class. That needs to be, so all the rules of the game needs to be defined before you begin the class. Another next guideline is, we need to set the stage for successful interaction. So eye contact with the learner is very important. You need to gaze directly into the webcam so that they feel that it's an online interactive real-time session going on. Appropriate lighting in your room is important. you need to check on the specifications of your audio, video through test calls before you begin the class. So that is another guideline when you go about decide taking going online classes. Next is practice. Obviously, you need to practice. Maybe you can run a test class. You can just go through videos, slides, and you can just practice once before you go in front of students. So learn, practice, and improve. So next guideline is we should be concise and engaging. Why? See, a class should always, the research has showed that the class should be limited to 40 to 45 minutes. The reason is that the students lose interest if we go beyond that time. And if we ask them or expect them to make notes continuously for 40-45 minutes, it's not good. We should include discussions, videos, open questions, so that students are charged up. They don't get bored, they don't lose interest in the class. So we need to engage them in the class, and it should not go beyond 40 to 45 minutes. And health is also important. So next guideline is for you that you should take breaks, and you should not take continuous very long classes. So maybe drinking water, stretching your legs in between, and so on, so that you should do so that health is not affected by long sittings and everything. So last guideline is that and we'll discuss that today, that what about the reassessment. We need to think about how to make assessment. As it is an emergency, urgent situation, we cannot specifically for our final year students, we cannot go for all one-to-one examinations. That means they cannot come to the university and take exams. So we need to revise, reassess, rethink the policies for conducting online exam if we want to go for it, specifically for the final year students. So today we'll discuss all the possibilities. And before that, you must be aware of all these platforms, that there are various platforms available for online classes, such as Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, which has gone free for 6 months, Skype, Zoom, Moodle. Moodle is a free online open source platform that you can use. So now, without wasting time, let me begin with the demo of Google Classroom. So now Google Classroom, basically it's a suite for education, and the faculty and students can create, manage classes, assignments, quizzes. The faculty can provide real-time feedbacks, grades to the students. Students can submit assignments there, share their views, post their comments. All the classroom material can be shared using this platform. So let me begin with the demo of so as you can see, this is my email ID, and if I want to open the open Google Classroom, I can just you can see here down, I can see an icon of Classroom. I'll just click on it. So I've already opened. You can see I have 3 classes here. So I am taking 3 classes, 2 BTech and 1 MTech. So there are 3 classes present in my. So you can see when we move on to Google Classroom, there is a dashboard that comes there, and there is a plus sign you can see at top right that can be used to create a new class. So for creating, so for my demonstration is divided into various parts. So first part is creating a class, how to create a class and how to schedule meeting using Google Classroom. So here you see, I'll just click on this plus sign. I'll create a new class. So here I get a pop-up window where I can name the class. I can name the session, the subject for which the class is being created, and maybe I can give a name demo to it. Section I can say 1, subject I can say software testing, and room number if I want to assign. So this is the first, the name is required, and other 3 fields are optional. If you want, you can enter the details of these fields. So after that, I have clicked on create. So it's taking a bit time. It's creating the creation of the class is in process. So here you see, I have now created a class demo, and you can see this page is divided into 4 sections. We'll discuss each section in detail today. First is the stream page. Second is the classwork page. Third is the people page, and fourth is grades page. So there are the screen is divided into 4 pages. And as soon as I create a class, you can see I have a class code here. So this is the class code. So top, you can say top left, you can see this. There is a class code. If I click on display, this is the class code. I can copy it from here, or I can copy it from settings. I'll tell you how to go about it. So this is the class code. So if I want to copy it, if I want to reset it, I can go on this. You can see top right, there is a setting button, right? I'll click on the setting button. So here you see under the general tab, I have this class code here and I have 4 options. I can display it. So if I click on display, it gets displayed. I can copy it. So if I click on copy, it gets copied. I can reset it and I can disable it. So if I don't want to use it, I can also disable it. So this I can do using the general settings. Now there are many ways to communicate it with the student. You can copy the code, and you can there are 2 ways basically. You can add students in your class. You can copy the code and you can share the code with your students using WhatsApp, using emails. You can drop them and then they can join the class using this code, right? Another way that you can join students, you can go to this people tab, right? So here you see I have 2 sessions. Either I can join few co-teachers of mine. So if I want to join, add few co-teachers of in the department, I can just invite them. I'll click on the invite link, and then I'll type their names. If they exist in my automatically in my Gmail, it will come, or I can type a new email. So, and the same way I can invite students. So there are 2 options of adding students in the classroom. First, I can copy the code by going to the general session in the setting. I can copy the code and share it with students through email and through WhatsApp, whatever is comfortable to me, or I can invite them. So here I can click the link. I can invite them. For example, if I type anything, so these email IDs are already present, so they will come. So here you see I got an email. If it's already saved, otherwise I can type it down. This is the second way of inviting students to the class. So one was when I can send them the code, that is, and the second way is that I can invite them through adding their email IDs, and as soon as they accept the invitation, they will automatically be added into the class. Now coming on to the second part of my demonstration, how can you schedule a meet? So how can you schedule a meet using Google Classroom? So here again, I'll go on to the settings. Settings, you can see I have clicked on again top right, settings. So the third section here you can see is meet. So meet, here next to the meet, there is a generate meet link. I'll just click on this link and automatically a link will be generated. Right now it's I have again now 2 options. I'll demonstrate both of them to you. First way to make the link visible to students is that I can just make it visible to students, and it will come onto their dashboard, and it will be available to them if they are well in the domain of the university. Otherwise, what I can do, I can post this link as part of the stream page. So I can post various you can say I can first copy it. So here you see there are 2 options. I can reset this link and copy it. If I click on the link, I get 2 options, copy and reset. So I'll copy it down. I'll click on the save part, and I can post it to the students. Part of share something with your class. So I want to share something with my class. I want to share with all the students that have been added. So what I'll do, I'll click on the add link. So here you see I have an add button here. So I'll just click on it. I'll click on the link part. So I'll just paste the link here. I will add the link. And I'll just mention what is the purpose of the link. Link to the class. And I'll post it. So all the students that are added into the Google Classroom will be able to just click this link and just come into my class at the designated time and as per the schedule. So that this is one way of inviting students to Google Meet. There is another way. So if we want to invite the student at a particular time and a particular day, so what I can do, I'll just go to now, I will just click on the classroom page, and here you see I have a Google Calendar link, right? So I can use Google Calendar for scheduling a meeting. So I have clicked on Google Calendar, as you can see. So for example, I want to create a particular, I want to notify students that today at 3 p.m. there is a class. So I'll just click on today, that is 22nd. I'll just go on to 3 p.m. So here you see, I'll just add a title to the, I'll just add title to that class, ST1, right? There is the time, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. I can, now what I can do, I can select that class. So I can select the class that I have just created. There are many classes that were there. So I can just select a class that I have created. So that link will be available to that class. And then I'll go to add location or conferencing. So by clicking on add location and conferencing, I can add video conferencing. As soon as I click on add video conferencing, you see, again, the Google Meet link has been created. So I can just click on it. I can just copy it down. So I'll just copy, I can copy it from here. And then I can again post it as part of share it to students in my Google Classroom. But now, this by adopting this method, I will schedule a class at a particular time, and the date and time both have been specified. So it's a specific, if I want a special meeting with my students for some other reason, some special day, or then I can create the link this way. Otherwise, I can create a common link which they can use daily during the class time. So let me return to the classwork now. Yes, so now let me begin and tell you another feature that you can use. That's the most important feature, how you can share material with your student using Google Classroom. So how you can share material using Google Classroom. So again, we'll go on to the classwork page. So there are 4 pages. So stream, next to stream is classwork, sorry. So I'll click on the classwork page, and then you can see I have a tab here that says create. So I'll click on create. I'll create material here. So I'll click on material. So here you can see the material page has come. So I can add title to it. It's compulsory. It's not optional. Description is optional. So I can add a description to it if I want, or I can leave that. So maybe I can add maybe that I am posting slides, handouts to them for chapter 1. So I can just add a title to it. Right. And here you see on your top right side, I can now share it with either all the Google classes that I have created using Google Classroom, or I can share with it. So I don't have email IDs right now. If there were student in my class, I would have been able to select few students. If I want to send them to few email students, that means I can restrict it to few students. So that I can do using this. You can see on your top right, I can select the class. And if I want to share it with multiple classes, you can see here, I can select them. So I'm restricting it to demo class only. So here, and then I can add, here you see there is an add link. I can click on it. I can add either a file from the Google Drive. That means if it's kept at the Google Drive, that I want the file that I want to share. If I want to share a link of that file, I can click on link. Or if I want to that file resides on my hard disk, I can just click on the file link, and I can upload that file by selecting files from my device. So if I click on selecting files from my device, I can select that file. You can see I can select that file and I can upload it. And then I can, let me select one. I can upload it. So uploading is in process. So after doing that, I can just post it. I can also save it for save it as a draft that I can use later on. I can schedule it that I want to post it maybe tomorrow, so I can set that. Or if I want to post it just now, I just click on post, so it's coming posting. So here you see I have now successfully posted the slides handout, the chapter 1 material, so that that will be visible to all the students in that have been added successfully in my classroom. Now, moving on to the third part, is that is very important in creating quizzes, quiz type of assignments. If you want to give exam, you can also use this for taking students exam. So I'll again go on create link. I will use quiz assignment. So here you see the assignment page gets opened. Now I have three options, two options basically. I'll one by one explain you each and every option. First, obviously, I need to add the title. So I'll just add test paper here. So test paper 1, if there is some instruction, all assumptions must be specified. All questions are compulsory. I have stated two assumptions. I can add as many as I want, and it's optional, so I can also leave it. Now, I have two options. See, if I want to conduct the exam, I have a test paper with me, I can attach it, add it here, right? So I'll again go on add, and the same 4 links are there. You can see present there. I can either attach the test paper from Google Drive. I can either use a link. I can use file. By using file, I can attach the question paper, and or if I have some link to YouTube video or I want to attach it, then I can do it. Another option is that is coming by default. If I use that option, I will not use this one. That is a blank quiz. So you can see there is a blank quiz that is being created. I will explain you how you can do that using Google Forms shortly. Before that, again, you can see at your top right, we can assign this particular test paper to few students. Few means I can restrict them because there is no student added right now in the demo class. The email IDs are not coming. I'll soon move on to my the class that I have created. I'll show you how students have been posting their assignments. I'll show you how they have been posting their answer sheets of the test that I am taking online there. I'll soon move to my normal class, but it's a demo class, so just please bear with me for 5 minutes. So you can select the class with which you want to share the test paper. It can be one class, it can be multiple class, and also you can select 5 students, 10 students, 20 students. If you have multiple question papers, you can restrict them to few students, and that's important. We'll soon discuss how to go about online examination, few ways that we have formulated to move on, shift on to the online exam. Then you will be able to relate this feature with that those things. And here you can specify the total marks, right? So maybe this is a test paper, I want to give it 10 marks, so 100 comes by default. So you can either increase, reduce it. And another feature is due date. So here you can see, this is very important feature, you should use that. Due date means, for example, I am posting this particular quiz at 5 minutes before the exam time begins. So maybe I am posting it at 10:55. So I can specify the students that this will end at 11, and the date and the time. So date means the day on which they are taking the exam, until when they can post the answer. They will be allowed to post the answers, responses after that time too. But there will be a double quotes late submission that will be notified to the teacher. So the teacher, faculty comes to know that this submission has been submitted by the student late. So here you can see, I can go here. So I can select maybe 23rd date. Time is optional, but I always prefer to specify the time. So maybe 11:59 a.m. One thing you need to take into account when you are using this time. It will take time, students, if you are giving them a written paper, maybe a 1 hour or 45 minutes paper. It will take them 5-10 minutes or 15 minutes to scan their copies and upload it. So you can add that time to you should add that time too. So you can see here, it comes tomorrow and the deadline for submitting it is 11:59. And if you want to add a topic, you may add it. Another feature is that I want to discuss here is originality reports, which is very important. See, if I am taking a scanned copy, obviously I will not be able to use this paper. But if I am taking a typed answer sheet from them, and there are various ways to monitor it online. We'll discuss them soon. But if I fear that they'll copy, so I can use this originality report feature. It is a embedded feature in Google Classroom, where it will automatically search the online resources. Online resources, when I say, I mean Google Books, Google Sites. So whatever is you can say accessible to Google, and they will match that particular answer sheet with them. And then they will you will come to know whether the student has copied using online resources databases. Now coming on to this was the first way, see, of posting that you use a question paper and post it, give them a deadline, they submit it, and when they submit, I soon show you and what they can submit and how they submit. Another option, which is very important, you can create a Google online quiz. So here you see comes a default form. I can remove it if I am using the first option, or I can go with it if I want to create a live MCQ type of paper. So I'll be able to give them again the deadline and everything for the same. So I'll click on the blank quiz, and here you see the blank quiz opens, and I have you can see you can easily create every teacher, every faculty. It's very easy to use. So it's very user friendly and easy to use. So you can type the question and the answer. I'll just type one question. So for example, what is software testing? Right? And it's a MCQ. I want to take a MCQ type of paper or student. So I'll give 4 options to it. Testing is the process of executing a program with intention to find faults. That is the first option that I am giving them. The second option I may give, testing is the process to demonstrate that no errors are present. Third option I may give, testing is process to establish confidence in the program. And fourth option I can add always none of the above. Yes, so it's a MCQ type question that I have created. I can create, and here you see comes the role of answer key. So I can also, and if it's right, just assign 1 point to it. So I have already entered I have also entered the answer key here. Now I can go to settings, right? Now, if you restrict that particular quiz to students who are of your university domain only, who are already registered, and the organization should be trusted. So you have a trust on the domain that they are using. So you can click on it. If you want to limit to 1 response, you can click on this setting. Or if you want to allow anyone can sign in and use the question paper, you should uncheck both the options. And here there is the quiz option. See, if we have Chromebooks, we as a school we are using, we have this opportunity or facility available, then we can also turn on the lock mode. But our university doesn't have this facility, so we are not able to do it. So I am just saving these settings, and now I can as soon as this is created, I will be able to share it, post it again as the same way as I posted the material on the group. when I want, and by setting the timeline that I have already explained you. So this is another way of creating a question paper, MCQ type. You can also create, see, there are various options. You can also create a short type of question. You can also create a question that has a long para, so student can just type it, and so it's upon you what you want to create. So moving on to the classroom. So here you see, and when I use quiz, I have a grade import option where I can whatever grades will be, see, if I'm using a MCQ type of paper, they will be automatically generated, so I can import it here. So that option I have. So I want to add a question paper rather than going for Google Forms. So I'll just add a question paper. I'll select my drive. I'll go on to my notes. So I have a question paper already with me. So I'll just add it, upload it. So here you can see, student can view it. I'll assign it. And as soon as I assign it to students, it'll again come on the dashboard of Google Classroom. See, so I have one material posted and one test paper posted that is due for tomorrow, and they have to submit before 11:59. So I can, if I want to, I'm taking a test, I'll post just 1 hour before the test. Now let me go to class and let me give you a demonstration of how students have posted the responses to this test paper. I have already posted them this test paper. So I'll go to my BTech Software Engineering 4th semester class. So here you see, I have posted test paper SC1. So I have 71 students in my class. So here you see, it was a 12 marks question paper. So here comes the points that I have assigned them. And from 71 students, 63 students have turned in. So it's a good number. And here you see, if I can go on to return it, and here you see they have scanned their copies, the sheets using CAM scanner, and they have posted it as a response to the, so what can students do now? They can post a response to this particular test paper by scanning their sheets. If I have used mode 1, if I have used mode 2, quiz, then automatically it will come, the responses will come into the Google Forms that I can view later on. But if I have given them a test paper as an attachment, that I did, so in response to that attachment, they can just go on, they'll just post their answer sheets as a reply to the particular test paper. So here you see, I'll show you answer sheet of one student. So here you see the student has written his name, his roll number. So this was diagrams I have already given them, and you can see they have scanned it using CAM scanner, and how neatly they have created these diagrams, and they have posted it online. I can check them now, and you can see on your right side I can grade them, right? So on your on the right side you can see there is a grade box. Another very interesting feature that Google Classroom offers is that you can add comments, private comments. Students get excited if you give give them some comment, maybe good, or if even you feel that something they did do right, you just post it. So if you give them private comment, they feel very excited about by reading these comments. So you can post some if you want, you can post these private comments to them, and then you can grade them. See, for example, I give them 12 out of 12, for example, and then I click on return. As soon as I click, so on your top right, you can see there is a return button. So when I check this answer sheet, I can grade them. I can post my private comments to them that will only be visible to that particular user. I mean the particular student in our case. And then I can click on return. By clicking on return, automatically the grades will be returned to the student, and he or she will be able to view the grades. So if I click on return, it will automatically be returned to the particular student. Right? So that I can do here also. If I don't want to go into by clicking this assignment, I can do, if I want to do it for various multiple users, so I can just click on their names, and I can just add their grade marks out of the total designated marks. I can click on them, and then I can return them as a I can select multiple user and return their grade at once. So that is another method how I can return it by clicking. See, there are check boxes on the left side of the student name. I can click these check boxes together, and then I can click on, when I click on return button, automatically these marks. So I've selected 3 students, so automatically the marks I can enter. See here, maybe 7, 8, 9, and when I click on the return button, automatically it will be posted to students. Okay. Now there was another feature, another page, grades page, right? So I can click on the grade page, and here I now you can see I have posted many assignments to them. I have posted few question papers to them, and missing means they have not attended that that student was not present in the class. So every listing will come as a summary of my submissions. Their marks will come in this grade sheet, and the class average will also appear on the top. So that was another feature of the Google Classroom. So I have explained you all the pages and all the tabs. Let me now get back to my presentation, and let's discuss what are the various ways in which the online examinations can be carried out. Before that, let me give you a brief overview of how should you handle the security, privacy and security threats. See, Google Meet is a bit, and Microsoft Teams, they are a bit secure as compared to Zoom. So Norton has given specifically for online classes, Norton has stated few guidelines that you may follow so that so that the threat can be minimized, specifically when you use Zoom. So first, you should ensure your home security networks, right? A home network that should be secure. You should ensure that it is secured. You can configure firewalls to keep the unwanted personals and everything out of your domain, and you should use a secure Wi-Fi. You must be doing it, and then you should ensure that you are using you are using a tool with strong encryption. Zoom doesn't have end-to-end encryption. Meet has that. So that is another thing. You should before you go on to use of using a particular tool, you should just read out its privacy and security policy. And then comes a webcam awareness thing. See, cyber crimes can happen through spyware, and they can get access through your camera that you are using, right? So what we can do about it? So you should use a neutral background. Like I am sitting, there is a white background, so anyone cannot just walk through your home and just see things behind. I mean to say, just look into your home. That one precaution you can take. And whenever the webcam is not required, and the call ends, obviously it's normally it get automatically closed, but if it doesn't shut down, then you should purposely remember to shut it down, close it down. During the meeting also, if you don't require the camera, it's safe to make the camera off. Then you should set some conservative permissions to control access. So setting permission is important, so you can maintain control over who is on the call. So you should specifically in case of Zoom, you should have password. You should give individual passwords to students. So there are various ways that you can ensure security that ways. You should avoid open meetings. If you want to maintain your privacy, never use an open virtual space. So it makes it easy for cybercrime criminals to join. Be careful what you share. So whatever you are sharing, don't share sensitive data, documents during the video call. That's important. So that is an important point. And if you should manage your passwords effectively, always keep on after a few days, keep on resetting the login credentials, and you should use strong passwords. There are various guidelines for creation of strong passwords. You should follow those guidelines. You should keep on updating your programs regularly, because when you update them, the various security threats, the fixes to those threats are automatically resolved by the software. Then you should be aware of phishing and other online scam. So you should never click on unknown links or attachments. That you must be aware of this thing. These are few guidelines that I thought I should share with you. They are actually given by Norton, and for specifically when we think of conducting online class. So before we move on to the discussion of online examination, Now, let me quickly tell you what are the freely available tools and research resources that you can use now. First, ACM Digital Library. It has totally gone free till 30th June. You can download research papers, book chapters, conference papers, journal papers from ACM Digital Library and use them for your research. Then we have few important relevant research articles, chapters, papers that are related to COVID-19 that are freely available on Wiley and elsewhere. You can access them there. Microsoft Team, as I have already told you, has made its that feature free for 6 months for higher education staff, for faculty, students, so they can chat, meet online, and other platforms too. Adobe has also given this remote access to Adobe Creative Cloud for universities and colleges. And one important thing is that IBM is under the process of amendment of SPSS. So SPSS is a statistical package for social sciences. Most of us are using this package for our research work. So they have the home license. They are in the process of giving it at no additional cost during this lockdown period. Then Harvard University has made various courses free online, so you can just use them. They are related to finance management, they are related to mobile applications, and so on. Similarly, Pearson and Coursera, you must be aware of. Coursera has also made many courses available for free for students. So you can, as a university, you can just mail them, and they will. You need to your university administrator should do it. Is required to do that. So you can that way make those courses freely available for your students. Now coming on to online examinations. So in online examinations, see, now it's an emergency situation we are into. So when we think of doing it, we need to meet the academic. So we cannot compromise the academic standards when we go for online exam. There are various options. I'll soon discuss them. And at the same time, we need to provide the opportunity to students for demonstrating her knowledge and learning. So challenging exercises, case studies, online open book examinations, multiple choice examinations. We can think of many options for conducting online examination. And another thing, we should restrict them from copying and pasting. So unfair means, dealing with unfair means is a challenge. Yesterday I was reading articles on online exam. The major threat is cheating. So how will you restrict students from cheating and using unfair means? So that can be done through recordings, through the use of webcams, but then they require stable internet connection. So we'll discuss everything. So we can have a policy for the students who have a stable internet connection, and few students, see, when I'm taking class, there are few students, very few, who have low bandwidth, so we can deal them separately. So the first option, so these options have been jotted down by our university, and we have circulated them to the faculty members for their comments. So we have basically three options. We can see that these three are feasible at this time. So you can think of many more. So first is written subjective examination. So as you can see, I have used Google Classroom, right? So Google Classroom I can use to create the test papers, and I can integrate that with Google Meet for invigilation. So for example, I post a question paper at maybe 10 o'clock, and then I tell the student to come online. See, whenever I go for online, I need to create multiple sets of papers, so that the student, if you even see, they make WhatsApp groups. Students can make WhatsApp group, and they can share the question papers with each other, the answers I mean to say. So if the students don't know ki rule number 1 will get which question, rule number 10 will get which question paper, so I can make few sets, and I can share those sets with maybe 5 students, 10 students, and the students, it's a 1 hour, 1.5. See, I need to restrict the time now because I am online. I need high bandwidth, so I cannot go for a 3 hours paper. So I can restrict the time, and I can create multiple question papers, challenging questions I need to make. So as a teacher, we can always do that. We can also go for open book tests, so students not able to find answer of those questions online. And as I have shown you, the marks, time, duration we can set. Instructions can be provided to students. So currently also there is another feature in Google Meet. So you can use that feature as a part of the extension of for Google Chrome. That is Google Meet Grid View. So that grid view will provide you a view of total class, and you should restrict the size of a class to 20 to 30. So at a time you can only take, or maybe multiple teachers take those exams. So restrict the class size to 20 to 30 so you can monitor what they are doing through Google Meet. So it's a low cost solution. So question paper must include a practical real world case studies wherever it's possible. So this is already I have demonstrated you. Another option that I have demonstrated is multiple choice question examination. So I can use this mode 2, MCQ. MCQ also I have shown you that how we can create using Google Classroom. But if you want a total solution, there are various proctoring tools available. They are paid, so our university can collaborate with those companies who are giving those solutions, and then they will do everything. I'll tell you what they can do, and it will be more robust as compared to the solutions that we can provide using Google Meet and Google Classroom. So proctoring is a way through which we can conduct MCQ. We can also conduct you can say written type examination, but in written time examination, it's a challenge for students. Their typing speed may vary. So that's a challenge. How we will, so it's good if we use these tools for conducting an MCQ type of question paper. So GMAT examination is conducted through proctoring. GRE. USA is, top universities in the USA, Harvard, Purdue. Every now semester examinations are of IIM Allahabad, IIM Rohtak. Many organizations, educational organizations are using this solution, that is proctoring. So how we can plan for this? So it is divided into 3 stages. I'll just quickly go through those stages. Planning for exam. So I told you it's a bit of challenge. We have actually taken demonstrations from these companies. So it's a bit of challenge when if we want to go for a subjective type using proctoring. MCQ is a nice option, feasible option. So every question, you need to prepare a question bank. So each teacher can provide a question bank. Maybe the faculty can do it by its own. That means the administrator can give the rights to faculty, and the faculty has rights on that particular tool, and they can do themselves, or they can share it with the administrator. So administrator will randomly choose from that pool of questions. So we can divide it into 3 types, basically easy, medium, difficult. And each time the question paper comes to us, so each student will have a different set of questions with different combinations, but the set will, for example, I can specify 20% easy type of questions can be added, 50% medium, and 30% difficult. So I can do that. So the type of questions, the difficulty level will be same for all the students. Now planning for such kind of examination, a paper can be set by the teacher. Either teacher can upload the question paper and take the exam, or the designated official of the university can take the exam. Each correct answer by the student will be awarded 4. And see, negative marking is very important in these type of papers. Why? Because if a student select a particular option A for all the questions, still he'll be able to achieve 20 to 30% of marks. So in order to avoid that, negative marking should be there. It is suggested it should be there. You may want it to keep, or you may not want to keep it, but it's suggested. So any designated official can upload schedule of examination and registered student data for respective registered courses. So that can be done. And conduct of exam is very important. Students will be given login credentials and web links to access the online exam. Student will require laptops, desktops, mobile phones with the following specifications. They need to have webcams, audio speakers, internet with minimum speed of 1 Mbps, and then Google Chrome or Microsoft Firefox. It depends upon which company you are going with, which tool you are using. So they will give you their specifications. And students, each student will be given access to demo examination prior to the actual exam. Sorry. An entire examination may be proctored. Proctors mean invigilators. It will be supervised by invigilators. Invigilators can be, you can also make your faculty members as invigilator, or you can ask the company from which you are purchasing tools, they have their proctors. And finally, conduct. Now during the conduct, they use obviously video recording, audio recording. Students, images of students are captured at varied intervals. The screens of the students are captured. The proctors will interrupt the students in between, and they will ask them to show the 360 view of the student room, so that they can see if no one is there. And also they are using some AI based techniques. So if they see some unwanted thing has happened, so they will give a warning to the student. And you can specify the number of warnings that will be given to the student before their exam is terminated. For example, if I keep it as 3, so after 3 warnings, automatically their examination will be terminated. So you can see there are AI based proctoring will be done to detect any fraud activities, and there will be warnings that will be issued to the students. Now, third mode of examination can be through you can conduct examination. So first was the subjective mode, second was MCQ mode, third is case study and projects. So all we can what we can do, we can divide our assessment into 2 parts. First is the written assessment. Written assessment, we can give them challenging projects and case studies, and we can set again we can set deadlines for them, maybe 2 hours, 1.5 hours, 3 hours, and then they are required to post the their written sheets, and then it can be followed by the presentation and viva. So you can ensure that they are where they are and how much they know. So that is another way, and we have proposed it as the 20% marks of the interim can be given as the written assessment, and 30% marks can be reserved for the final, you can say, based on the presentation and viva. This is the way we have actually done it. And another thing, you can also use similarity tools for assessing the similarities of the answer sheet that is being submitted by the students. You can use Turnitin, and as I've told you, Google Classroom also has one. You have seen that they have a online similarity checking tool that automatically checks how much similarity is there, and you can keep a percentage of a similarity, that if it is less than 20%, the paper is acceptable. If it's more than 20%, it obviously the student has copied it. So you can just maybe cancel the paper of that student. And the same thing you can do for the major projects. Carrying major project is very easy. We have been doing it. We have conducted in our university. All PhD progress reports have been taken online. That means the students have come online, they have presented them. So in the same way, we are going for major projects. They will be assessed online through Google Meet. Students would be giving PPTs by sharing their screens online, and the Viva will also go online. So that's easy. Now coming on to the lab part also we can use simulators. We can conduct our laboratory things by using simulator. We are in the process of giving small projects also to the students, and they will be required to give the presentations in the lab timing. So that's another way you can deal with labs. The students who have internet issues and are not able to access Google Classroom may be allowed to submit it through the written paper through online, through emails and through WhatsApp, whatever it suits to them. So these are few things that we need to note. And these are few tools that I have noted down, and we have taken demo of 4 of these tools in our university. So TCS Ion, Eklavya, Merkur Metal, and then Proctor U, then VBox and Examity. So let me end my session with giving you a brief video of Examity. So you'll get an idea of how this particular thing works.
Hi, let me introduce myself. My name is Suhas and I'll be your proctor today. Please confirm your name is Kiara Sarah and you're about to take your final exam for the duration of 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's me.
Thanks for the confirmation. Next, I'm going to walk you through the validation process, and this should take about 5 minutes. So have you taken an exam with us before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, great. Then we will go through this quickly and get to write your test. If you have any questions, please stop me at any time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Now, can you please show me your government-issued photo ID?
So this is the first step. The proctor is asking the student to show the photo ID.
You get it a bit more closer to the webcam so that I can see your name and photo clearly on it.
I'm 7 of that. Yeah.
All right, I got it. Thanks for that. Now I'm going to read you a list of exam rules. Please let me know you understand by saying okay after each rule and asking me to repeat anything that isn't clear.
Okay, sounds good.
You must be alone in the room throughout the test.
Yep.
You must have a clear desk and workspace.
Yes.
Your computer must be connected to a power source.
Okay.
Your phones may be used during the test.
Okay.
The use of headphones is not allowed.
Okay.
Your dual monitors, if you have one, please unplug it.
Okay.
You can't leave your seat during the test.
Okay.
No talking unless you're asking me a question.
Okay.
Your webcam, speakers, and microphone must remain on throughout the test.
Okay.
And finally, I must be able to see you for the complete duration of the test.
Okay, sounds good.
And let me see if you have any additional rules. All right, I don't see any. Now, when I see your desk and workspace, can you please rotate your webcam in 360 degrees slowly for me so that I can see the area around you?
Yeah, of course.
So the student is showing the 360 view of a room.
Can you please tilt your webcam a bit down?
Yeah.
Okay, now please continue the rotation. Okay. Now, can you please show me the whiteboard that's on your left-hand side?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I got it. Now, can you please show me your entire desk? I need to see all the four corners of your desk in one glance. Please show me the left corner of your desk onto your left. All right, I got it. You may settle down. Thank you.
Alright.
Right, you now see your next button on your exam tip page. Can you please click on it?
Yeah.
Now please enter your answer to the security question and click on submit.
Okay.
Now please agree to each part of the user agreements, including the exam rules, then you can begin your test.
Okay.
Perfect. Begin exam, and if you have any questions during the test, you can ask me directly, or you can reach our support team by clicking the live chat button on the exam tip page, all right?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kira. I see someone else in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, she was just coming her keys and she just left, so.
Okay, can you please do a quick pan of your room?
Yeah, cool. That's where the keys were.
Got it. Okay. Please make sure no one else enters the room during the test.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. Go ahead with your exam. Thank you.
So this is the way, this demo shows you that this is the way in which the proctoring tool works, and we can choose a tool and then we can, select a particular type of paper that we want to go for, and how much they have their image capturing tools and artificial intelligence based tools that they are using for conducting these exams to avoid cheatings and other frauds. So these are the now key references that I have used for few references. I have used others too that I have not listed here. So as part of my presentation. So thank you, and now I think the house is open for questions and queries. Any questions, please?
Ruchika, can I ask you something?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I'm Geeta Venkatraman.
Hello, ma'am.
I'm a mathematician, and I wanted to know whether the Google Classroom, the Google quiz which we could create, does it support LaTeX by any chance? That's the software we use for mathematics.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to know that.
You drop me an email. I'll just if I get some tool that we can add on to it and extension, I'll drop it an email to you regarding this.
Great. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Ruchika, this is Nitin Malik, and really a great presentation. Rather, yesterday night only when I was scrolling the DTU site, so I saw all the guidelines being over there on the website of DTU regarding the online registration, rather posting of the internal assessment on the ERP, as well as the guidelines for the students also, that they have to get registered, and how the online examinations will be carried on forward. So DTU is already prepared for it, and in fact, I was also, when our Vice Chancellor also, ma'am, also keeps on pinning us that we also have to be prepared and in all the circumstances and be ready for the thing. So I was also discussing with the NILET. You must be aware of the NILET people, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So the way you were showing it for the online examination, whether to be carried out in the MCQ or as a subjective, which can be carried out. So NILET has recently also developed. They told me that they are also conducting, because they are being told by the MHRD, and they are now carrying out a virtual examination room. So they are using technology of the two web cameras, one from the mobile,
and
from behind, fixing it up. So I would rather request, because any expert, I would ask NILET people also if they can do it, or you can do it. Like, if you can tell our faculty for that technology also, that will be a much better added advantage for us.
Okay.
And, it is really great, because now as an administrator and as a faculty, as a teacher, we, in this present situation when the lockdown is, there is no certainty about the lockdown. So evaluation and assessment is also to be carried out. And I think this presentation of yours is really a great advantage to all the faculty people. And I could see the messages in the chat box. Everybody is writing great, good. So this is because teaching is in something different from the administrative part of assessment and online to be carried out, that too in a proctored manner. So really a good presentation. Really good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I think Nitin, if you know, the director for NILET was Professor MP Punya.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Who has now joined as Vice Chairman AICT.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
He's a great friend of mine. I think if I can request him to send somebody,
yes, ma'am.
I can speak to him, and I think
I spoke to the controller examination of the NILET as well as the registrar. And the moment I told that, rather they were not aware that I have shifted from IP to Ambedkar. So the moment I told Ambedkar, so they said, "Oh, Professor Anu Singh Latter is there." Yes, he is the Vice Chancellor. So they were ready, ma'am. They are ready. They are rather looking forward. So we will work out if everybody agrees on that, and if this thing, then we can work out together. We will request Ruchika also to be on board, so that there can be a parallel speakers, and because she understands the integrity and the nitty of the examination to be carried out online. So as an administrator view, as a computer scientist view, as a faculty, and as a presenter. So we can have a board kind of a thing. We can also rope in Professor Sharma, Professor Ashish Sharma also. So that way we can do it. I mean, let's plan, ma'am, because now we have to go ahead for the assessment also. Yes, yesterday night only I saw that DTU has already initiated and carried out. So they have already flagged the things over there on their website.
If there is no question, I think we can close the session now.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thanks to all the faculty members for patiently listening to me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much. Thank
you.
you, Dr. Malhotra. That was very nice.
Thank you. And if you have any question, anytime, you can just email to me. I'll get back.
Ruchika, we have recorded this.
In the chat.
Ruchika, we have recorded this your webinar presentation.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
So we'll be sharing it with our faculty members, because many of the faculty had to take classes in between. They were already scheduled for their classes. So we'll be sharing this. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Most
Thanks for inviting me, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ruchika, God bless you. It was really a very nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, ma'am.